brother sibling movie.
Welcome, friends and chosen family, to Brother Sibling Movie, a podcast where two siblings, that's us, the two of us, talk about
Us too.
movies we love from our childhood and some we might be discovering for the very first time. We center them around a different theme every season.
This season's theme is 90s science fiction and fantasy films, a genre that both of us bonded over as true millennial nerds. This fits well into the category of science fiction. There is time travel.
Yes.
There is weird gidgety gadgets. There is wibbledy wobbledy technology that doesn't make a lot of sense.
It's
Super
Terry
great.
Gilliam. It's Terry Gilliam.
It's Terry Gilliam.
Hi, I'm your sibling, Mayor Morgan.
Hey, I'm your brother, Evan Kerna.
I don't know why in my head you were just like a cartoon character for a second.
I am always a cartoon character
I feel like-
in my own head.
I feel like you and I exist at a high level of Muppet energy regularly.
Well, one of us is a Muppet and one of us is a cartoon character. They are similar,
They're similar but very different.
but distinctly different.
They're
Yes.
distinctly different. All right. Well, what are we talking about this week? This week, our movie is 12 Monkeys, which is a film by Terry Gilliam, made in 1995. It is a fever dream about schizophrenics, time travel madness, deadly viruses, and I would say both Bruce Willis's and Brad Pitt's butts.
We do see their butts quite a bit.
A lot of butt, lot of ass action.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I saw this movie probably too young. I think I saw it when it came out, not in the theaters, but I definitely have a
9?
recollection. Yeah, I think I saw this movie when I was 10, maybe 10, 11.
That's too young.
I was like, this is sick.
That's too
This is
young.
dope. I kind of have been misremembering the timeline of this movie for a long time. I thought that it
Oh, interesting.
departed somewhat significantly from the source material that it gleams from. For whatever reason, I had for many years thought that, oh, you know why? Yes, there is a scene where somewhere in the middle. Anyway, I thought that Brad Pitt.
Just pick a different body part.
Brad Pitt and his rad tits.
Oh, no.
I had thought that Brad Pitt did it for many years, and now I'm like, oh, that wasn't what happened. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. But now I realize why, because there is a scene where he's recollecting the dream where you see Brad Pitt in the red hair. So now I'm rethinking, like, wait, what does that mean? Is that anyway? We'll get into dream reality. What was the time loop and things that have to do with that? But tell me about your experience with this movie.
So I watched this movie for the first time this morning.
Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Ain't no minute like the last minute.
There ain't no party like a Nick Cannon party, because a Nick Cannon party don't stop.
Sure.
It's true.
Yeah, but no, I watched this movie for the first time this morning, and I also realized that in my head, people had always said, like, oh, 12 Monkeys is a great movie, you need to watch 12 Monkeys, and I somehow crossed this in my mind with the film 12 Angry Men, which I think is about a jury.
Yeah, it's about a jury of people trying to deliberate on convicting a man for murder.
Yeah, and I was like, and
awesome.
So people would be like, watch 12 Monkeys, and I was like, I don't want to watch 12 dudes talk about a fucking criminal conviction for 2 hours. That sounds boring as shit. No, thank you.
Oh my God, you gotta watch 12 Angry Men, though. 12 Angry... I thought the same thing before I saw it.
So I have...
whatever, 25 or something, and it's so good. It's tense. I remember being angry when I watched this the first time that there weren't more monkeys in it, and that there wasn't a shot specifically with 12 monkeys in it. That made me a little mad at the time.
I'm not gonna lie, I was lied to about the number of monkeys in this film.
There might be 12 over the course of the film, possibly, because you do see
There might be
monkeys,
12
but
shots of monkeys, but there's not 12 individual monkeys. I just didn't know what it was, and so I was like,
yeah. Well,
uh
what's your initial impression? What did you think as you finished the movie?
oh man, it was very fun. It was very Terry Gilliam. So this film has Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt are like kind of the two main characters, and
Yeah.
Madeline Stowe. But obviously, Bruce Willis was a very established actor at this time in 1995. Die Hard had come out prior to that. Like he'd been in a
Mhm.
lot of like action. Brad Pitt was like relatively new on the Hollywood scene. Um, and I mean, this is a few years before he did like Fight Club that came out in what,
Mhm.
2000, somewhere around there.
1999, actually.
99. Okay, so this is 4 years
Mhm.
prior to Fight Club. So like he's like just ramping up his career in Hollywood in 1994, 95. And
Yeah.
he comes out of the gate so funny, so insane, so
Yeah.
charismatic, so physical in such an
Mhm.
exciting, interesting, fun, just like like you just want to watch him. To say that Brad Pitt steals every scene that he is in is
Yeah.
to think that someone else would have been able to take it from him.
But he had been a star in some movies, but, you think of A River Runs Through It or Legend of the Falls where he's
Yeah,
supposed to be kind of like hot guy in the Midwest or
hot,
Montana
stoic
or the
man.
plains or whatever. And yeah, I always like him better when he
And
takes big swings like this,
yeah, and
It's
like
he's so much more interesting to watch than the kind of
and
plain-faced,
like
sort of semi-attractive whatever dude.
if you call Brad Pitt semi-attractive, we're gonna have an issue. Um,
Is that what words that came out of my mouth? I
that's
did
what
not
you
mean to
just
say
said.
that.
You just said a semi-attractive man, and I was like, inaccurate.
Try hottest dude on the planet.
Kind of the hottest man on the planet.
All right, let's do a plot overview from our robot overlords at Chat GPT.
Atta.
Chat GPT. It just turns into an Adam Sandler impression. Chat GPT.
I
That was getting a little bit more Jim Carrey, I guess.
know.
Yeah, don't go to watch ChatGPT. ChatGPT. There we go. That was more in the Sandler range. Thank
More in
you.
the Sailor range. Good job. I'm proud of you.
And scene.
In a dystopian future ravaged by a deadly virus that has wiped out most of humanity, like 99% of humanity, survivors
Mhm.
live underground to escape the inhospitable, uninhabitable surface where there are
That's bad.
bears and lions, by the way. Convict James Cole, played by Bruce Willis, is chosen to travel back in time to the 1990s, 1996 specifically, I believe, on a mission to trace the origins of the virus and gather intelligence on a mysterious group known as the Army of 12 Monkeys, believed to be responsible for the outbreak.
Bum bum
Bum, bum,
bum.
bum. So, as Cole navigates the chaotic timeline because he's being sent back and forth, he is mistakenly institutionalized as insane, which also 1996 doctors very fair. In the insane asylum, he encounters a brilliant but unstable. Wow, ChatGPT. That's selling. That's underselling it. So he encounters the brilliant but unstable Jeffrey Goins, played by Brad Pitt, a fellow patient with radical views, and Dr. Catherine Rayleigh. Rayleigh, I think is how they pronounced it. Played by
Mhm.
Madeline Stowe, who's a psychiatrist who's skeptical of Cole's apocalyptic warning, basically saying, in the future, you're all going to die from this virus. So, as the past and the future blur, Cole unravels a conspiracy that challenges his understanding of reality, his role in
Ooh.
humanity's fate, and the
Uh-oh.
elusive truth behind the army of the 12 monkeys.
Ooh, ooh,
Packed,
ah.
packed with mind bending twists, haunting performances, and hilarious performances, ChatGPT. And a
Yeah.
surreal atmosphere, 12 Monkeys is a gripping exploration of time, memory, and the fragile threads that connect human existence. I just want to say a couple things up top about that little
Mhm.
Synopsis. Um,
Yes.
to say that Brad Pitt's character is unstable
Mhm.
does not even scratch the surface of the schizophrenic mania that he like is. And
Exhibits, yeah.
yeah,
I know. Last night, I watched this film with our mother, Marta Karen,
with mommy,
and yes, and she was like, "I like Brad Pitt. He's funny."
I
And she said that
wonder,
about 8 times throughout the rest of the movie.
I wonder why she married our father.
I mean, we love a good chuckle. We love a good yak.
We love a
We
good,
love a good yak in this family.
yeah, and we love a good manic energy. It's good across the board. Um,
Everybody loves a little high dose of manic pixie dream person in their lives.
Fuck yeah. But yeah, no,
Brad Pitt plays a manic pixie dream
nightmare.
schizophrenic nightmare in this movie. Yeah.
Schizophrenic. Oh my god.
Manic pixie nightmare man. Yeah.
Like Pixie Nightmare Man is really good. I also Evan and I were talking about this before we started recording, and I am not a film person. I just don't know a lot about film history, all of that. And Evan came
You have a
in.
lot to say about films that are that is very educated when you talk about them, though.
Oh, thank you. But I just don't know, like, I know, like, stuff about narrative structure, character development, those things. I just
Mhm.
don't know a lot about film theory and film history. Like, that's just not something I've ever studied or whatever. So
And
I,
guess what? I have a bachelor's degree and all of that stuff.
yeah, so I basically told Evan, similar to how we, in an opposite way, did this with A Midsummer Night's Dream, where I was like, Evan, can you just explain film history to me?
Yeah, just well, that can be a whole other podcast. The pressure's on. I gotta talk about a lot of stuff.
I know. Bring your fucking goggles to go spelunking into film history. Tell me, basically, Evan, could you just tell
Yeah,
me
Mare, tell
everything?
me what you want to
Like,
know. What do you want to know?
first and foremost, this film in the title cards says based upon the film La Jetée, which is a
Yes.
film that I have heard referenced in every single institutional art education I've ever had. Have I ever
Hmm.
seen it? Absolutely not. What is it? What is La Jetée? Why is it important?
Yeah, La Jetée. I would not be a good film nerd if I didn't mention La Jetée. It's thankfully they mention it as inspired by in the opening, which is you know I I will give them that. It is definitely inspired. They change a lot of things, but the pretty much overall basis of everything about what this film is La Jetée. I love 12 Monkeys, but La Jetée is better. Everybody should go watch La Jetée. It's great. It's incredible.
When was it made?
1962. It's 27 minutes long. It's pretty short, all things considered. The sort of special thing about it, besides the sort of mind bending time travel aspects of the plot, which are very similar to 12 Monkeys, is that the film is told entirely in still photographs, with the exception of one shot to bring a point home. It's post World War III Paris. There's a man haunted by an image from his childhood of a man getting shot and a beautiful woman. It's uh, and then he grows up. World War III happens. Parisians go underground. There are these German scientists doing experiments on people to try to bring back resources from the past, maybe even the future. They have to get people who have distinct images in their heads, who can imagine things very well. So they strap this guy up to a machine device, and he goes back in time, meets a woman, and they both kind of they have this love affair. He comes out the other end and ends up going back to try to meet her, and then gets shot by the scientist who took him to the future and ends up it ends up that him as a kid, the memory he has as a kid is of watching his own death occur as he
Okay.
tries to get back to this woman who he loves. So
A lot
basic,
of
similar,
a lot of similar
clothes.
beats.
It's a great film, and of course, it deals a lot with time standing still, the power of a single image, and the kind of how that imprints in our brain. So the technique and use of using still photography uh, to create an impression on your brain, and they do a lot of great things where like it'll be montages of different images, but then sometimes they'll like kind of almost animate the images. It'll be sort of like key poses almost of certain things. And then, of course, when it gets really real and you start to feel like he's actually in the past, it cuts to actual film, 24 frames a second, that's actually moving. Another piece of this film history jigsaw puzzle is Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. Chris Marker made La Jetée in 1962. Vertigo was made in 1958. Vertigo also deals with a man, James Stewart, being kind of obsessed with this woman who he stalks a little bit. You know, I think he's a detective. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I don't remember all the pieces of it. But he becomes obsessed with her and kind of tries to recreate her in another woman by like making her imitate all these things. So he's also trying to recollect a very strong image that he has. And interestingly, Kim, there's a
Novak.
very famous image from Vertigo, Kim Novak, that La Jetée actually kind of directly imitates. So it's a
Mm.
profile shot of Kim Novak that the actress in La Jetée, they kind of recreate that image. It's not the main image he has in his mind that brings him back to the past, but it is a very striking image of her that they return to. And it's um, this is not just speculation. Chris Marker actually made a documentary film in 1982 that follows a bunch of different. Again, I have not seen this, but reading up on it, he actually spends a decent chunk of the movie exploring San Francisco himself to rediscover and go to the filming locations that Hitchcock went to, recreating some of the shots that Hitchcock did.
That's
So
so interesting. And I mean, and it
yeah.
well,
And
and
of
he
course, Terry Gilliam must know this too,
right
because obviously they have the moment in the theater where they are Bruce
towards
Willis
the
and
towards the end of
Catherine
12
Stowe,
Monkeys, kind of the
Madeline
third
Stowe.
third act of it.
So yeah, it's that's sort of like the film history, like, you know, it's just film, all sort of inspiring each other. That's part of, and I'm sure there's even more there, but that's part of the lineage of where 12 Monkeys is borrowing from all these other movies, not just about time travel, but also about the craziness of getting obsessed over like an image, you know, or a
Mhm.
memory from your childhood, and how you replay those things, and whether or not the images that are in your head are memories or they are dreams or imaginations, and how those various images get warped over time, where you stop being able to distinguish maybe if something is a memory or if it's something that you came up with yourself, you know.
Yeah, that was one thing I thought was really interesting just in the, because you throughout 12 Monkeys, you see these flashes of an airport, and someone
Yeah.
running in an airport and getting shot, and then it kind of pans back to this kid. And it kept coming back and back and back and back. And it was sort of like, okay, well, obviously this is important, but I don't quite know why.
Hmm.
And it also changes slightly throughout the film, like throughout when you're going back and seeing it, it's changing
Hmm.
a little every time that the viewer is re
Yeah.
is invited to it. And I
Yeah,
mean,
you're invited to reinterpret the, yeah, and it's
every
also because
time.
they don't wanna give everything away right away, so you're
Exactly.
revealing a few more of the details. That's just a storytelling,
No, for
technique,
sure. And it
but
is
yeah, also it is fun seeing it represented, this memory, so to
yeah.
speak, from a bunch of different interpretations of this little kid's
Yeah, and
James's
it's,
recollection of it.
we always think like, oh, I remember this thing and that's exactly how it happened. But it's been proven time and time again in multiple studies how intensely fallible memory is. Um,
Hmm.
and how intensely open to suggestion it is. And how
Yeah.
like your current state of mind, state of being, whatever, directly impacts your memory. Like a thing that
Hmm.
should be like locked and loaded in the past can still be influenced by the present, which I think is also kind of an interesting theme that this is exploring of like as you have people like traveling through time and trying to fix right their wrongs and whatever those kind of
Hmm.
things are, like you're never going to get it right if you're only
Yeah.
looking at your memories, right?
Yeah, I think that this movie is a lot more focused than many of Terry Gilliam's other movies. You know,
100%.
having
I
been made from this script by David Webb Peoples and Janet Peoples, who I can only imagine are a married couple.
um
Mhm.
do you want to talk a little bit about Terry Gilliam just as a
Yeah,
filmmaker, as an artist, kind of where he came
totally.
from? Like I knew him from Monty Python for the
Yeah.
most part.
So interesting about Terry Gilliam, and a thing that I love about him is that he was a cartoonist and an animator first. That's sort of what he was known for as a young person, and he was an what would you call it? Paper montage animator. So he would take
Yeah,
cutouts of things or drawings that he made and put them on paper and then stop motion animate them across the screen, which is what he did in Monty Python.
yeah,
He moved over to England in his 20s at some point and got in touch with Monty Python. He obviously had a penchant for visuals and things, and the other guys had a bit more, or were more, performers, actors, and writers. So, along with Terry Jones, Terry Gilliam kind of became one of the lean ons to become directors, a
yeah,
director of these things. So, he co directed two of the greatest comedy movies of all time, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Monty Python and the Life of Brian,
yep,
and continued to direct many of the Monty Python movies and various segments that they did. Yeah, very integral part of that very, very famous comedy troupe, right?
yes.
Um,
Well, like
uh,
set the visual language for a lot of it.
yeah,
Like what you
yeah.
think of
And
when you think of Monty Python is Terry Gilliam's artwork.
so once Monty Python sort of stopped doing their thing, he started his more solo career and started making movies. Honestly, I don't know what his first movie was. It might have been Jabberwocky. Maybe it was Time Bandits. But Terry Gilliam has made some of my favorite movies: Time Bandits, Brazil, The Adventures of Baron von Munchausen,
Mm.
The Fisher King, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. He was associated with a movie he ended up making but was very tough to make, called The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. There's a really great documentary about the first time he tried to make it, where everything went ass
It
up
was
and
just
screwed over.
it was like it is a
A
fantastic
comedy of
documentary.
errors.
It's a fantastic documentary, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it because it really is just somebody really wanting to make their vision happen, and like every single thing in the universe conspires to be like, nah, dude, that ain't gonna happen.
It's kind of beautiful to watch someone try their darndest to make a thing and have it not happen. So Terry Gilliam is this sort of mad, absurd. Some people might call him a genius. I love his movies because they are clearly from an animator's and a kind of cartoonist perspective. They are zany in the best way. Even his most sort of dystopian movies like this one, 12 Monkeys and Brazil, come to mind, are very centered in humor as well. The sort of absurdist comedy of things going horribly wrong. And he also kind of exists in this sort of Kafka-esque universe where like anything you do is doomed because of the powers that be. He's one of those beset upon boomer artist types that we, love so much from the mid to later 20th century.
Yeah,
And a sort of a a resounding critique of all of Terry Gilliam's movies is that they kind of aren't very tight. One of the, I think, the problems of a very creative mind who has a lot to say and a lot to put out is that without someone to rein them in, they kind of go a little crazy. And a
Yeah.
person who's just trying to watch a story unfold it's easy to get lost in the sauce, right? And you see it most in his like third acts of his movies, where his movies will sometimes not really end. They'll just kind of, in fact, one of my favorite examples is Time Bandits, which is honestly probably the best children's movie ever made because A, the parents are horrible bastards who don't care about their child.
Oh my god.
The all of his the friends, the little people that he teams up with, the time bandits who go around stealing famous artifacts from across time and space, are mean to him all the time.
In a very like in a
They
way that would
yeah,
not get greenlit today.
no, 100%.
In
They
it is the mid-80s style of parenting children of like,
yeah.
"Go fuck yourself, you little shit stain," and you're like, "Don't say that to kids." They're like, "It's fine, they're
They're fine. They're resilient. They're
fine."
tough. They're not going to be deeply traumatized by this forever and ever. And importantly, the best ending of any movie ever. And this is a perfect example of a person who doesn't know how to end their movie. It's like writing an SNL sketch, right? You're just like, I don't know what's supposed to happen now. We got the kid back. Let's just let the parents blow up.
Yeah.
He literally kill the parents in a giant explosion, and the end of the movie is the kid's just like, "Mom, Dad," and
I
the
shouldn't be
movie's
laughing.
over. It's incredible. It's nobody would have the balls to do that these days. Nobody could get away with doing that in a Hollywood movie like
That's what I
Manic
mean. I
Pixie.
feel like there are storytellers out there that have the balls to do it, but literally no studio is gonna be like, "Sounds good."
Yeah,
And
but this
even
is another point to how of Terry Gilliam's style, right? Like, yes, he has never-ending endings, run-on sentence stories, but he is dedicated to his artistic vision, right? He is 100% in on making sure it is. Uh, his movies are notoriously difficult productions for exactly this reason. Every piece of the frame has to have something moving. I think there's a shot, maybe it's Zero Theorem, where he did like 25, 30, 40 takes or something because in the corner there's a little like rat wheel and the rat wasn't running in it, like, and so they had to do the take over like multiple times because the rat wasn't running in the wheel.
just give that rat some fucking cocaine. He'll do whatever you
Right.
want.
um um uh it's important when it comes to the ending because apparently the studio really wanted to have a more uplifting conventional ending for this movie, and Gilliam, bless his heart, fought for the more thought-provoking, like, time close in time loop thing. um and it's like, what's the point of making this movie if you don't like flip it back around and have it be a time loop situation?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point? Like, it he always has a way of like biting you at the very end and leaving you with something to think about.
Yeah, I definitely would say that I mean, I know Terry Gilliam's films, and I've enjoyed many of them, and I would definitely say that, yes, the run-on sentence structure plot is very apparent. I would say this is unequivocally a tighter story than I think I've ever watched from a Terry Gilliam film. Um,
Totally, yeah, his third acts go on
his third
forever.
act's gone forever, and I was
And you start to feel like you're in a fever dream. You start to feel like I'm
Yes.
kind of going crazy, which I think means that it's intentional, right? Because he
I
wants you
hope it
to
is.
feel that way,
Like, I hope
but
it is, and
it is maddening in some times where you're just like, "Ah, I'm going crazy watching this movie, and it's not
yeah.
fun anymore. I'm just trying to, like, hold on for dear life."
Yeah, and I think that in the 3rd act of this film, maybe 20 or 30 minutes before the end of the film, when
Mhm.
Cole, who, Bruce Willis's character, who throughout the whole film has been so staunch as he's been sent in as he's been sent into the past. He's been so staunch of like, I am from the future. I am here for a specific purpose. I am not crazy. Like, I am trying to do a thing, and all of you people do not believe me and don't understand. When he starts to unravel and be like,
Mhm.
actually, I am crazy. And I see that now. And I was just
Yeah.
like, Terry, what the fuck, dude? I can't right now. Okay. It's nine
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning. It's 9 in the morning. And I'm
This is a choice to watch this movie
it
at 9 in the morning, man.
wow.
I love
Dude,
that.
I started watching this movie at like 8 or
Mhm.
something. Cause my sweet baby dog had some, let's say, explosive digestive issues in the middle of the night.
Explosive diarrhea in your bed.
Luckily, she was a very good girl and had explosive diarrhea on the floor.
Good job, Selkie.
Good
Way to
job,
go.
Selkie. So I didn't sleep a ton last night. And then, of course, at like 7 o'clock this morning, she was like, get up, I have to go outside. I was like, oh no, it's happening again.
It's like a Terry Gilliam movie. You're
It
like, I'm
really,
going slightly insane, and everything has a crazy manic energy that I'm not super
I
comfortable with.
can't get, yes, I don't know what's going on. So I started watching this movie. I was like, oh shit, I have to watch this to record the podcast later today. Fuck, I'm so behind. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna watch it at like 8 in the morning because
Right.
like I'm awake and whatever.
I love that it's super fresh in your mind.
It's
I at least got to sleep on it. You're just,
it's
like, in it.
it's like fresh and at the same time not fresh at all because I feel like I've lived 1,000 lifetimes between waking up this morning and this moment.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of the fun things in this movie and get into some of the details. I mean, to your point of the sort of wild visual choices that get you into
Oh
that
man.
mindset. The first time you see Bruce Willis in 1990, which is the first time that he travels back to, he is just he's not in a straight jacket, but he's like drooling out of his
It's
mouth.
like
And there's a lot of drool in this
it's
movie.
straight up glycerin. Like
Yeah.
it is
Hmm.
very much like it is glycerin that is just
Hmm.
pouring out of his mouth. He's like wearing
Yeah.
like underwear and a see-through like clear vinyl raincoat and is just drooling and is like out of his mind. Yeah, buddy, you got taken to a mental asylum because that's how you're coming to the party, you know? Of
That's how
course you're
you're
gonna
coming
be.
off, dude. Honestly, that's one of my favorite parts of the movie is that sort of within the first 20 minutes, like your introduction to the psych ward, right? The mental institution where Bruce Willis goes in. Brad Pitt is there as Jeffrey Goins, who is doing his great impressions. But there's also just a lot of great other, crazy, mentally
It's
unstable people in that room that really give some great performances. And you
yeah.
you get, and of course he's filming it all with these like wide angle, almost fisheye lenses, and he's got the classic Dutch angle that he does and everything. There's so many shots outside and inside the mental institution that are filmed from behind like prison bars
Yeah, where you have
or
a
chain link
framing.
fences, or there's always something kind of enclosing, like,
Yeah.
and I think that, that's why Terry Gilliam's style works particularly well for this movie and this subject matter, and it's sort of focused in this script that's actually like a good script based on like one of the most famous science fiction,
Yeah.
film nerd movies of all time, is that he can uh, use these formal techniques that he's going to do anyway, like the Dutch angles, canting the camera angle and the wide angle lenses, in a way where like it's a funny contradiction to me that like there's all of these wide angle lens shots, but they feel so
But
claustrophobic
I think
because
that
it fits so much in the screen. It's like
I was
compressing the
gonna
space in a way
say,
where you're like, "I don't wanna be here right now."
that's one of the things that I think that I have always really liked about Terry Gilliam visually, as I myself often describe myself as an unrepentant maximalist.
Terry Gilliam is 100% on the maximalist train as
He's on the
well.
maximalist train, and I mean, like, serious shout out to the props department and the costume department and the art department of this film because every single scene is so visually dense, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Whether
and
that's
he's known for that.
and he's very known for that, and whether that, like, all of the cool kind of junkyard gears and trash and stuff that, like, when James Cole is being sent to the past,
Mhm,
in the underground by this, like, weird panel of scientists that, like, kind of show up as a barber quartet later, in the
mhm.
film in a very funny way to me. But they're this, like, panel of scientists, and they're all of the props, sets, it's mechanics, it's lighting, it's all of these things that are built, um, and
Yeah, I
constructed.
love that big TV that they, like,
Yes,
put in
the
his bed with
orb.
all the different tiny cathode ray TVs that are just sort of in his face while they
It's
interrogate him
it's
when he
so
comes back
cool.
from time
It's
traveling.
it's so cool looking.
Apparently, this is kind of a cool little factoid. The set designers actually incorporated like actual junkyard materials and industrial waste and all kinds of vintage machines and cobbled them together, according to the direction from Terry Gilliam and to create all these things. So it's cool to know that they were using all kinds of like, actual real world
Yes.
junk and stuff like that to cobble to make this sort of disgusting dystopian future come to life.
Yeah, and there's something really, I don't know if comforting is the right word. I kind of like the visuals of a dystopian future that is, like, highly chaotic, totally a
Yeah,
mess, it's junk, it's, that is, I think, a more interesting visual landscape to exist within. There is a certain part of my brain that goes to, in a dystopian future, say, whatever means of production are shut down or intensely disrupted or whatever, like, you're kind of just stuck with the shit that you have. It seems more human to me.
yeah. To get on my nerdy high horse for a second,
Do
this
it.
is exactly the problem that people of my generation and before still have. I mean, with the Star Wars prequels as opposed to the original trilogy, right? Like you hear it repeated ad nauseum in these film circles, but there is a very lived in quality to the Star Wars universe that you see
Yes.
represented in episodes 4, 5, and 6. But everything in those other three movies, in episodes 1, 2, and 3, have a patina of cleanliness intentionally. Part of the thing that everybody loved about Star Wars was it doesn't have that sleek look to it that everybody had associated with like the day the earth stood still and all these
And even, like,
B movies where things were sort of like space was supposed to be kind of like pristine and modern and whatever, but this
right.
was like, no, we're living in a gritty world. We reincorporated things from old tech. Obviously,
Right.
Star Wars came out of hot rod culture and kind of like modifying cars. So you would be like, let's modify these spaceships and
Right. And
put
it's
different engines on them. So
and that's one thing that I like about a lot of sci-fi movies, especially of this era. A lot of them
mhm.
have that grunginess, that grittiness about them,
Yeah,
um, that does make it seem more realistic because if you look around your life, you're like, "Well, I have shit everywhere." Like, the world has shit everywhere.
your life for sure.
My life for sure has shit everywhere. I know our mom's does too. Where do I get it
I'm
from? I think you're totally right about saying, like, Star Wars is a lived in universe. That's what was so appealing about it. I think that's what has sustained 12 Monkeys still to this
mhm.
day. The people that I told, like, "Oh, I'm doing 12 Monkeys this week," who are like, "Oh my God, good movie." it's a good movie. And I was like, yeah, I guess. I've never seen it before. um, but
Hmm.
that for that much time has maintained, it does come down to these really awesome set decorating choices, production design choices, visual choices, like that feel very accessible still to us, even like
It's a
a quote unquote modern audience now, 30 years after this film was released.
it's a beautiful chaotic look, and I'm all for
Oh,
it.
that's the look I go for every day.
Yeah, it really is, and you're killing it. So you've got this.
Nailing it.
Um, I feel like we would be remiss if we didn't get into it a little bit, a discussion of the time loop theory and
Oh
everything
my
that
god,
happens. Because
let's
when
do
this movie
it.
came out, there was a lot of debate as to like what actually happened and what's going on. I mean, watching it, I feel like it's fairly straightforward. The big sort of shocker ending of everything, because okay, quick, slightly more in-depth recap, uh, just for the timeline of it all. Bruce Willis's character is living in the future. The virus has killed everybody. They live underground. They send him back in time to 1990. They meant to send him back to 1996. It didn't work. He meets Dr. Riley,
Really,
who treats him, and he meets also Jeffrey Gaines, Brad Bits, Brad Tits, Brad Pitts, Brad Klitz.
if you say his name right one time this entire series, I will give you a
Yeah.
lollipop. My god. Oh god,
Have you
I
heard
just
of
spit
Brad
everywhere.
Klitt?
Have you heard of Brad?
Brad Spit,
Brad?
Brad Spitz,
Hell yeah.
Brad Spitz, Brad Klitz, Brad Bits, Brad Dits. Brad Shits. Oh my
Brad!
god, there are so many good curses with he goes back, he meets him, essentially gives him the idea for the army of 12 monkeys because he mentions it to him, and then he goes back in time. In the meantime, psychologist Riley, the woman, makes a book about that where she is unraveling people who believe they're time travelers, crazy people. Um, One weird guy comes up to her and is like, "Interesting ideas, but maybe you could push it a little further." He will become important later. Then starts James and Catherine, Bruce Willis and Madeline Stowe, adventure together, where Bruce Willis is now trying to find the army of the 12 monkeys, and she is convinced that he's crazy still. He is then whisked away back to the present timeline, the future. And during all this time, every time he gets jacked through the time travel, he keeps questioning his reality and continues to see images from his childhood of this guy getting shot and this woman running after him in an airport. In the meantime, psychiatrist Catherine Riley has got major Stockholm syndrome and is like, this guy
In
who
a
is
big
is actually
way.
kind of good, big way. She's like, no, he's. She still doesn't believe him, but she starts to find little pieces of evidence that reveal that he is probably a time traveler. He comes back again. There's all these sort of things that start adding up, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is actually the real timeline. Oh, and the worldwide virus that killed people, obviously, Bruce Willis's main mission is to kind of go back and reconstruct the timeline so that people in the future can get a cure for the virus. And everybody thinks the Army of the 12 Monkeys did it. Turns out that Brad Pitt's Army of the 12 Monkeys really was just about releasing animals into New York City.
That's all. It
They
was
had put a
just
whole bunch of
about releasing animals that are being experimented on. It doesn't have anything to do with viruses.
right. Yeah. But Bruce Willis now has feels like he's done his bit and he doesn't want to go back to the future. He wants to exist in 1996 with Catherine Riley, and they have their little romance, and they kind of are like, we've both gone through some pretty fucking crazy traumatic shit together and our worlds are falling apart. So let's go to Key West, Florida, which they keep harping on in the
Oh
movie,
my
and
god, they talk
live
about
our
Key
days
West
out.
so many goddamn times. I even like had a thing in my note of like again with Key West, like what is
Again
happening?
with the Key West, I
Again,
tell you.
again with the fucking Key West thing. It's like over here, over there. You're like we're all talking about Key West all of a sudden. Like I don't understand.
At the very last second, as they're about to get on the plane, and Bruce Willis is never to be seen again by the people of the future, and he's about to get away, he and Catherine realize that it is actually one of Dr. Goines' scientists that is releasing the virus, and he's there in the airport. So, as the scientist is getting away in the airport, Bruce Willis has been given a gun by someone from the future, is going after him to shoot him to try to stop the spread of the virus that's going to kill 5 billion people. The security guards at the airport shoot him, and Catherine Riley, psychiatrist, is coming up to him. And as we see these images play out, we realize that young Bruce Willis, James Cole, is in the airport as well. And he is witnessing the memories that we've been seeing throughout the movie are him witnessing his own death from him from the future coming back to the past. And we're left with this sort of image of him gaining these images, these very like burned in his brain images that end up becoming his fate or whatever.
Yeah.
So this, of course, brings up the theory that this is a closed loop time theory movie, which means that you, as there's nothing you can do that
Yeah.
can change the future. Like once the loop has started, it goes endlessly. Like he will always be a kid that grows up, sees these things happen, goes into the future, goes back to change everything. So that is the sort of general consensus on how this thing works. Like Bruce Willis goes back in time and actually puts things in motion that make the timeline happen every time he lives his life over again.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know that that's what's going to happen. And so like humanity's always going to be doomed to repeat this thing because of the actions that they took.
Yeah, and it's an interesting, I mean, we obviously in 2024 have been deeply embroiled in
The multiverse.
the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Which now
Right.
is in its billionth stage, and everything is a multiverse, and it's a whole whatever, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
but it's an interesting thing because the idea of a closed loop timeline is much more grounded and much more based in um, like ancient storytelling. It's based in like we see that in Greek mythology, we see that
Mhm.
in Arthurian legends. We see that over and over again in this sort of no matter what you do, you are a slave to your fate, right? Even if you are trying to change something for the better, that precipitates a negative impact that actually like makes the thing happen that you didn't want to have happen. And it becomes this thing of you are in this continual cycle.
Which makes sense in a world where
Yes,
you really most people didn't have any way to change their fate whatsoever. The powers that
absolutely.
be were too strong. We didn't exert any kind of control over the natural environment. It was just like, it was a drought, your crops failed, you and your family died. That's pretty much it.
You
Sorry.
fucked.
Nothing
Like
you could do.
we
Yep.
don't have vaccines. You're gonna get some
Yeah.
weird wasting disease. Um,
Yeah.
but it's interesting now in I mean, I guess quantum mechanics has been around since like the turn of the 20th century, but now that we exist more in a world of string theory and we exist more in a world of
The possibility of multiple timelines and multiple dimensions has
yes,
been
it's been
presented to us.
It's been theorized, it's been postulated, it's been represented in films. I remember the first time that I read any Arthurian legends, I would just get so angry because I was like, but they're doing their thing, they're trying to help, but then like why does that precipitate the bad thing? I don't like that's
Mhm.
not it was like this sense of like that's not fair. Um
Yeah, totally. Well, life ain't fair.
but that's but I think with films like 12 Monkeys and those kind of uh more cyclical loop timeline sort of
Mhm.
things, I can almost see the reason behind that story structure or that
Mhm.
device because the ultimate end of those types of stories is deal with it. Like
Right.
Like, life is
Yeah,
gonna
it's a
happen.
tragedy,
Like,
right?
it's a
Yeah.
tragedy. Like, there's nothing you can do to get out of this. Like, you're stuck. And there is a certain defeatist, nihilistic side of that.
I think that's what these sort of archetypal stories about tragedy are all about. It's about the way that we all have to die, and like we
Yeah.
can't, despite things being, that's the big thing that everybody experiences that we all are trying to make sense of in our lives. It's
Mhm.
like, why do I have to die? It's like, I don't know, man. It's just the world that you live in, and
It's
you better
just
get used to it because it's gonna happen,
yeah.
and there's nothing you can do about it. And I think most of those tragedies are basically about that. Gilgamesh is finding immortality, right? We're seeking immortality because we don't want it to end, but ultimately it ends, and that's you just got to deal with it.
And
There's then nothing that can change that, and that's what I think these stories, these folk tales and myths are like. That's the ultimate thing that they're getting across, like deal
yeah.
with it, this is a fact of life and you're going to
And
have to
it's
understand that's okay.
and there's a certain part too of like that's kind of what makes us human
Hmm.
is that
Yeah.
we're always going to be contending with this inability to understand how our present actions will affect our future. We're
Yeah,
never going to know because
because
we don't have the ability to move through our own lives like that, right? Like
yeah.
we exist in the first, second, like third dimension, right? Like we exist in the third dimension. Like but we
Hmm.
do not exist in the fourth dimension. We cannot move through time or see like we exist in a linear timeline. It didn't feel belabored and like steeped in like oh all of this history lore whatever, but it was bringing up the same thematic elements of that.
There's even a theory that the scientist actually, rather than sending Bruce Willis back to find the things, are actually sending him back to start the timeline. Like
Oh
they want it to happen
wow!
so that they
Oh
can be the elite
wow!
people. And they're like, and also, what do you make of that one particular recollection where it's Brad Pitt in the red hair?
Okay, so
Should we just chalk that up to being like
I would
that he's remembering things and reinterpreting them because they postulate that? Like, I think that it was always you in the dream. He tells Catherine, and she's like,
yeah.
"No, I was, it became me after you got to know me." And he's like, "No, I think it was always you."
Yeah.
But that idea is presented. So did he meet Brad Pitt and then it becomes Brad Pitt in his head because he assumes that?
I mean,
Or is there a world where he got sent back one time and Brad Pitt was the guy who did it? Like,
it's interesting. That's a really good point. There is a part of me that thinks that was somewhat of a narrative red herring a little bit.
mhm,
Um,
yeah.
because nothing, not a singular thing about Brad Pitt's character in this film makes you think a highly stable individual who could totally get through airport security with absolutely no problems and like
Mhm,
whatever, right? He's
yeah.
not going to keep his cool under any circumstances. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's certifiably
He
insane.
is he is the definition of a wild card. But I think it
Mhm,
was interesting that in the kind of version of the story where we see Brad Pitt in the airport, the overarching narrative of that point in the story is, oh, that person, Brad Pitt's character, Jeffrey, is responsible for all of this. So it's almost
mhm.
again, it's that thing of how memory is very infallible. And so maybe you did see the person, but right now you're kind of overlaying a different person on top of them. Or you
Totally,
know what I
yeah.
mean? Like
It
you
could be a situation where he's remembering a different timeline too, but then
but
that would go in opposition to the sort
exactly.
of closed loop theory, possibly.
See, I view it as I view this as a closed loop with somebody's memories leading the way, but those memories in and of themselves are not reliable. Like the memories are our unreliable narrator.
Is it time for a little something we like to call Yak Check? Let's talk about the gaffs, guffs, and guffaws of this hilarious movie. Yak check.
Sorry. Like,
Let's count the guffaws, laughs, and outside wacky moments of this movie. Rob Schneider is 12 Monkeys. That's the experience of watching this movie, actually. Just feeling like a crazy person going in your head. Oh my god, what about the homeless guy who kept being in Bruce
dude,
Willis's head?
why did
Is
he
he
call
crazy
him
or is he
Bob?
imagining that?
Why did he call him Bob? I don't know.
I
I don't
don't
have
know.
answers to these questions.
Anyway.
Tambok na siksi. Tambok na siksi.
Hit the right button that time.
Vibe check.
Vibe check. So for folks who might be listening for the very first time, Evan and I do not rate these films based on stars or numbers or anything like that. We rate them on two things and two things only, and that is, how is the story? How are the vibes?
That's the vibes, baby.
What's the vibe? What's your vibe check?
I'm down with these vibes. I mean,
Dude,
I wouldn't want to live in this vibe, you know? It's not a pleasant vibe.
it's not
but
pleasant, but it's decided. Like, it's made a
Yeah.
choice. It's made a
Mhm.
choice of what it is.
And I love the story. I think it's intended to leave you a little disconcerted, a little questioning. Some of the pieces of it are intentionally vague for you to keep questioning.
Yeah.
But I like that. And I like a good time travel movie that, you know, challenges us to think outside of the like Back to the Future or Terminator type of you know, time travel. It's not
Yeah.
just fun, guys. Time travel is messes with your brain.
It
And
messes with
yeah.
your poor brain. I know, yeah, I'm very much on the good vibes, good story.
And maybe even like, you know, let's expand in the vibes, because vibes mean so many things.
Vibes
It's
mean
like,
so many things. I think
it's like freaky vibes. It's like paranoid vibes.
it's
It's
grungy
like absurdist comedy, grunge, disgusting,
Yes.
dystopian, maximalist, claustrophobic prison vibes.
Yeah,
Which
and
doesn't sound nice when I put it that way.
It doesn't sound, but again, vibes to me, vibes are not like, is it good or bad? It's like, does it commit to the vibe?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
does
Do you
it
feel
set
like you
a
got
vibe?
taken away?
Yeah, does it
Mhm.
set a vibe and then fucking commit on the vibe? And this movie absolutely does.
Yeah.
I would say, honestly, the first two acts for me are like great storytelling, and the last third is like fine. And so it averages
Mhm.
out to be good. Just because I did start to get a little lost in the Terry Gilliam of it all towards the end of the
Mhm.
movie. Yeah. But it didn't feel like weird or anything. Like, it wasn't atonal to the rest of the film. It was just sort of like, get
Yeah.
on with it, all right? We're fucking done. But the vibes are
Dude, shut up already.
but the vibes are so good. Like, it sticks with an idea, it sticks with a visual
Yeah.
language, it sticks with a tone for the
Mhm.
film, and it carries that all the way through it. So I
Yeah.
mean, highly worth your time, I would say, if you're like me and have never watched it before. I watched it for free on YouTube with ads.
Nice. Very cool. That's great stuff. All right. Well, that's 12 Monkeys, everybody.
That's 12
If you
Monkeys.
like,
There
yeah,
are
if you like,
wait, really
mhm.
quick, there is one monkey in this, and it's a rescue monkey. It is a monkey that goes down a well to rescue a tiny boy.
Oh yeah, that's right. I love the little rescue monkey.
And it's
with
just
the
like in
infrared
a little
camera in his
helmet, and
head.
it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Just like this little.
I'm just going down this pipe trying to save a kid. I don't know. What am I supposed to do?
Anyway,
Carry him out of here?
there's not a kid in the pipe. It's a red herring again.
Yeah.
But yeah,
If you want to watch some of the great inspirations of this movie, highly recommend checking out La Jetée and Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. Super good. If you like Terry Gilliam movies, might I recommend both Brazil for another take on this sort of dystopian future look with Terry Gilliam, and Time Bandits. Like I said, one of the best children's movies ever made. Super good stuff.
it's fantastic. Well, also, if you'd like to email us, we are rounding out season 1 of 90s sci-fi and
Coming to a
fantasy
close.
film. We're coming to a close. Got a couple more in this season, and then we'll be right back at it with a new season. If you have thoughts, suggestions, ideas of anything we've covered this season, or you have suggestions for other seasons, films for other seasons, you can email us at brothersiblingmovie@gmail.com.
Yeah, tell us all the 90s science fiction and fantasy films that are your favorites that we missed and that you're going to get mad at us for not covering.
Our mother is the only person that listens to this podcast, and she does not know most of the films that we talk about. So I don't think she's
Yeah.
going to be upset.
Nancy Vega has taken quite a shine to it, as well as Bob.
Oh my God. Thanks, Nancy and Bob. Y'all are so sweet. Cuties.
We had dinner with her the other night, and she was like, I have a different take on Galaxy Quest. I love that movie. I'm like, hell yeah. Yeah.
Yes, Nancy. Get it. If you are like our dear friends and family, our mom, Nancy and Bob, you can email us at brothersiblingmovie@gmail.com. You can also find us
That's right.
on Instagram and YouTube at brothersiblingmovie, all one word. You
Yeah.
can find Evan at Art of Evan K on all of the social media platforms. That's Evan,
That's me.
just K, the letter K. Evan is also on Letterboxd at Evan
Yep,
Kerna.
Evan Kerna. And don't forget to check out Mayor Morgan here on the social medias at Lawn Daddy Lives Here, underscores between all the words.
Yeah. Thanks y'all for listening. Go talk to your sibling today.
Go watch a movie with your sibling.
Go watch a movie with your sibling. They're probably fine.
Your first cousin, your second cousin also works too.
They're stand-ins. You don't have to be blood related to be a sibling. We happen to be, but it's not a requirement.
Yeah. No, certainly not.
No.
You can definitely just like somebody and call them your sibling, and they will be like, why are you doing this to me? And you're like, you're my new person.
Yeah. I mean, maybe don't do that with someone you're dating.
Just do it with a total stranger.
All right, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful week.
We hope you have a wonderful week and you enjoy some more movies.
Hell yeah. All right. Love you.
Love you too, Sibs.
Bye.
Take it easy. Bye.